So when we're interpreting this graph, we're going to look at the different points, what's happening between the points. If as time is moving, what's happening to the distance. Okay, if time is moving and nothing is changing in the distance, I guess that means that we're actually stopped. Okay, and we may be traveling faster within certain places than other places. So we consider our graph and look first of all at point A. At point A, we are at the point 0, 0, okay, which means we're at our starting point. So this is, if we were at our house, this is home. Okay, so there's our starting point. Now if you look from A to B, if we're traveling from point A to point B, we are traveling a distance of 20 minutes, or taking a time of 20 minutes to travel 1 kilometer. Okay, so that's from A to B. Now from B to C, we can see here that as time moves on from 20 to 30 minutes, nothing changes with our distance. So we haven't traveled closer or further away from home. So from B to C, we were stopped for 10 minutes. Okay, again, as time moves on, nothing happens to the distance. Okay, so from C to D, then you can see that we did start to travel again. It was a 10-minute time period, and we traveled from 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers. So in 10 minutes, we traveled 1 kilometer. Okay, you can see the distance right here. Okay, so we went from 30 to 40 minutes, and it took us from 1 to 2, so that's 1 kilometer. And we're still moving away from our starting point. Now from D to E, possibly what happened here is maybe the person forgot something or had to go back, and the person turned around. So as time went from 40 to 50 minutes, so as we went through another 10-minute time period, our distance to our starting point decreases. So we're now 1 kilometer, when we get to E, 1 kilometer away from our starting point. So we turned around. So we turned around and went back toward our starting point 1 kilometer, and that took us another 10 minutes. 10 minutes for 1 kilometer. Okay, going back up to look at our graph again, we're now going to describe what happens from E to F. We can see here we went from 50 minutes to 80 minutes, so that's a 30-minute time period. And that 30 minutes, we covered a distance from 1 kilometer up to 4 kilometers. So in 30 minutes, we went 3 kilometers. Once we traveled that far, at 4 kilometers away from our home, we then again stopped. You can see we have another horizontal time here, or another horizontal section of our graph. So time passed for 20 minutes, but nothing changed with our distance. So this must be maybe our friend's house where we arrived, if that was the situation we were talking about. So from 80 to 100, or 20 minutes, we stopped. So from F to G, we stopped for 20 minutes. And we have one more section of graph to look at here, and we're going from G to H. So once we are at G, when we travel down to H, where our distance from our starting point is decreasing. We're going all the way back to 0. So this is our return trip home, and we made a 4 kilometer distance travel in 10 minutes. So maybe we end up getting a ride home, or it was a faster trip anyway that we traveled. So we have, again, it's going to be 4 kilometers in 10 minutes on the way back home. So from G to H, we traveled 4 kilometers back to the starting point. And that took, just to go back up and check it one more time, yep, 10 minutes. So it was 10 minutes to do that. So we have a summary here now of our graph. We can see what happens between each section. We can see where we're stopped. We can look at where we were turned around. So there's a few things that we can consider here with this graph. We can consider how long our total distance walked was. Okay, how long we were away from home before we came back. So if we look at time 0, the whole trip to our friend's house and all the way back would take us 110 minutes. We can look at how often we stopped and how many times we stopped. And again, we're stopped at horizontal places on our graph, so between B and C and from F and G. So the total trip was 110 minutes, okay, and we stopped twice. Okay, and when you're stopping, you're looking for horizontal sections in the graph.